So this is a happy birthday video for Layla. Happy birthday, Layla. I know this probably isn't the birthday you wanted, but I'm glad we get to draw this turtle picture together. We're going to start by just getting a couple of colors. And sometimes it's hard to tell what color a crayon is until you try it out on a piece of paper. So we're going to get an olivey green like this, a darker blue. You can see I have a lot of different crayon sets. So I have a darker blue and then a lighter blue, a nice brown, I have an orange, and a black crayon, and then also a black marker. And you can use a Sharpie or whatever you have. This is just a regular Crayola, and it's a little bit dried out, but we're using it for just a couple little spots, so it's no big deal. So the first shape that we're going to do is when you draw, you want to start with the biggest shape first, and we want to think about where the turtle is going to fit on the paper. And he's going to be kind of, you know, it's not like a person standing up, and he's kind of goes out in a few different ways. So with my finger, so I can help kind of visualize it, and his shell is going to be about here. It's going to be kind of an oval, and then I need to leave room for fins on the bottom, like kind of going behind his shell and right here. And then his head is going to be over here. We want to leave room for the background too. So I think I want to make his body about that big right there. And we're going to sketch with the lighter blue because the background is going to be blue. So when we're done, it'll all, like if you make a mistake when you sketch, you won't be able to tell because it'll just kind of blend into the background. So I'm going to start with the light blue, and I'm not going to worry about doing really heavy dark lines. Right here, like I like to call this right here a screaming line. We're not going to draw and sketch with lines like that. We're going to do light little whispering lines like that, okay? You can see the difference right there. So we're going to start with the biggest shape when we sketch, and the biggest shape is his shell, his body. And it's we're going to make it kind of like he's swimming a little bit up from the depths of the ocean. So it almost looks like an almond right here. It's a little bit pointy and then a little more curved. And then his head is going to come off right here. I'm just going to really rough do an oval shape right there. So we have an almond with an oval sticking off of it. And then just to help me kind of visualize, I want to connect that his head is connected to his body, not just floating up in the ocean. So I'm going to make a line that's right there. Again, I'm going to do it really light because I'm going to draw over here where his fin is. So now I'm going to do another curvy shape right here for his fin, and see how I overlapped onto the body. If you accidentally just drew your fin to go right here, that's why we're using this really light crayon. You can make it go up a little higher now. And then I'm going to do another one right here. Don't worry about making it perfect. Like, look at all these lines I have all over my paper. It's not perfect, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be. And then his back fin over here is going to kind of curve out directly from under his chin over here. So I'm just going to do a little, it almost looks like a boomerang. And then I want to show where his shell curves around. And their shells, so I'm going to show it on the very bottom of this first almond shape that I made. And then I'm going to make it curve around his fin. And then go like that, like a little mustache. Okay, so now we have like the skeleton of our drawing. We have a good basis to start with. So we can start to add some of our details. So let's start with his head. And the top of his head is actually going to look pretty flat. And we drew it as an oval, so that means we need to change this line a little bit. And then I'm going to make it kind of turn the corner like that. And now we're going to draw where his mouth is. And we're only seeing the side of his head. And his mouth, I'm going to go kind of like this, and then Have you ever seen when people draw those funny faces like that? It's almost like that. And then his eye is going to go right here. So it's kind of, maybe decide with your finger first before you decide with your crayon. I think I want his eye to go about right here. And I want it to be about that big. So it's not too close to the top, it's not too close to the sides. And then he's going to have a little nostril. And this part of the drawing is where you can decide, I want things to be a little bit changed. I think I want his nose to come out a little bit more, so I'm going to make his nose come out more. Okay, now we can kind of add some more details. I'm going to make the back of his shell kind of poke out a little bit like that. And then I think I want his shell to be a little bit bigger than I first drew it. So I'm going to make mine a little bit bigger. And I'm going to make his fin right here. Just kind of decide where my shapes are a little bit more before I start adding the other colors. Okay, that's a really good start. And now we're going to make a wavy shape on the outside of him so that it looks like he is swimming through the water. And you can just do it however you want. I would just draw it light, so if you want to change it, it won't matter. See, like, I think I want to curve that a little bit more right there. Okay, so now we're going to use the marker for just a few little lines, not much at all. On his eye, watch me first. We're going to outline it, but not exactly like you would think. So I'm going to start right here. See how that dot is a little bit further from that line? I'm going to start right outside that circle and make a line like that. And then to finish the outline, I'm going to go right back so that it almost looks like he has a little eyelash right there, but of course they do not have eyelashes, these sea turtles. So I'm just going to make a line right there. Okay, and then I'm going to do a little, looks like a little baby seed right here for his nostril. And then on his mouth, I'm just going to color over the crayon line that I have. And when I do mouths, I always like to do a little bit thicker on the end. It kind of makes it look like they're smiling. And then we need a pupil so he doesn't look like a creepy turtle. So you can, that'll show the direction that he's looking. I'm going to make my pupil right in the middle, but you can make it go whatever. You can make it go more at the top and it'll look like he's looking up. Or you can make it go back and it'll look like he's looking back behind him. Okay, so that's it. That's all, the only part we're using the crayon for. I'm sorry, the marker for. Okay, so now we're going to take, actually, I take that back. Now we're going to take the brown. Take your dark brown and we're going to add some of the texture onto him. So on his fin, his fins are so cool. They almost look like dinosaur skin to me. I'm just going to do some really not super fancy, just like little tiny messy circles that are kind of scribbled in. And I'm not worried about scribbling them in all the way. It just kind of makes it look like the texture. I'm doing more at the bottom than at the top. And then same thing for this back fin right here that goes behind him. And then this fin, since it's the back fin behind him, there's just a couple. Not as many all the way up like there were on this one right here. So I'm just going to do a couple at the end of this boomerang looking fin back here. And then around his face, there's some. A lot way at the top. Right on the tip of his nose. Pretty dark. And then just a couple down here. And then see how I make them a little bit smaller and kind of spread out a little bit more. Okay, and then we're going to do some turtley shapes on his shell, the armor. And you'll notice on a lot of turtles, they have kind of like a border around. I actually just drew a turtle for a card game that I'm working on. And he had the same thing. Kind of a border of rectangles around the bottom of the shell. And see how I'm not worrying about getting them perfectly colored in. If I'm going too fast and you need to pause to catch up, go ahead and pause it. And then the inside of the shell, I'm making bigger rectangles. Some of them aren't even rectangles, they're like trapezoids. And see how I kind of changed the shape on that one as I was drawing? You are the artist, so you get to draw it however you want. We're just drawing a bunch of rectangles inside here. Okay, so we have the texture in, we have our basic shape. Now we can start adding a little bit of shading. So I want you to take your black crayon, and you can see where I had drawn the edge of my shell right here. I'm just going to trace that with the black crayon. I'm not doing a super heavy line still. It's still a pretty light line, but it's just going to define that shape a little bit more. And then we want to show the shading right here, this edge of his fin. See, I'm not going to draw the line up here. I'm just going to draw it right there, and then see at the bottom of this fin, add it a little bit. And then this shape right here that's in between his body and the fin right here, and then I kind of stopped because I want to show that the fin is not separate from the body, that it kind of comes off the body from under the shell right here. And then right here, underneath, there's the bottom of his nose. And then his little boomerang thing right here. So we're going to do, watch this tricky thing I'm going to do really quick. See how this is the outside edge of his fin, and then here's the bottom edge of his fin. I'm going to do a super, super light line right here, and we'll come back to that in a second, and then make that darker. It's okay if you messed it up and you did it in a different place. That's okay. This is just like a fun little thing. Okay, so we're going to color his eye in. When we draw animals, sometimes I like to put highlights in, like that. But since this is underwater, you don't actually see a highlight in the eye. So I'm going to color his eye shape all the way in brown. And then I'm going to take the black, because turtle eyes are actually pretty dark. And I'm going to add shading, see it? But not color in all the way. I left a little bit right there so you can see a little bit that his eye was brown. And now we're going to do a little shading down here. So I'm not worried about coloring it in super heavy and dark. I'm just going to lightly color in with the black right here, so that shows that that is in shadow right there. I'm going to do the same thing right here. Just really light from this line that I drew. Go dark to light, dark to light. And then right there. And then the same thing right here. Dark to light. You can stop wherever you want. And then right here. And then remember this line that I had made right here? We're going to make the shadow darker closest to around his body, and then shade out to that line right there, so that this part is not shaded. Okay, so it's a good start. Now I want you to take the olivey green crayon, and we're just going to add, we're going to layer our color a little bit and add the color to his body. Then I'm going to bring it on here, and I'm not worried about making it perfect. I'm just adding a little olivey brown right here. And I'm coloring on this turtle shell, but I'm also coloring on those lines right there. Not super dark, just adding, I'm going to make it darker inside these shapes, but I am adding a little bit of color all over. And then I would say I'm getting pretty close to screaming with my crayon right there. Pretty dark. The nice thing about drawing a turtle is they have such craggy skin that if your coloring is a little messy or it's not perfect, it just looks like more texture. Okay, and see how I brought the olive green right over there too. And I'm going to make it pretty dark right there so you can tell that the fin is separate from the body right there. Okay, now I'm going to take the light blue and I'm just going to add a little bit of light blue in some spots where the shadow is also. So we're really layering a lot of different colors on top of this turtle. I don't want him to color too much in with the blue. A little bit of blue shows that he's reflecting the color of his surroundings. But too much blue and he'll blend into the background. Okay, then I'm going to take some orange and add a little bit of orange just in a few spots here and there. This will help him stand out from the blue background too. The opposite, if you look at a color wheel, the opposite of blue is orange. And so it makes a really nice contrast when we're done. Mostly just coloring inside those really messy shapes that I made. Okay, and then the last part of the turtle we're going to color is his, we're going to color in with some yellow. And I'm just coloring over the whole top of him. I'm not worried about getting every spot. I just want him to stand out from the blue a little bit and look a little more green. Okay, so now we're going to take our dark blue and we're going to do a little bit of shading starting from the edge. I'm going to color it darker with the dark blue at the edge and then lighter as I come in, and then I'm not going to color with the blue on top of my turtle. See how I'm doing it darker on the edge? This part takes a little bit of time. Be careful with this edge right here since it's not super defined. Okay, now we have that done, and so now we're going to color it darker. I mean harder. We're going to color it darker with the lighter blue. And again, don't color on top of your turtle, just color right up to your turtle. And just be super, super careful around your fin right here. So you might want to slow down a little bit. I'm talking to myself. I'm going right up next to the turtle right here. Maybe like draw the line a little darker first and then color it in. So it'll really help your drawing look really crisp if you make sure that your blue goes all the way up to his body, like that. You don't want to color on his body all over with the blue, but a little bit is okay. And then it just makes it look like he's separate from the water. And I'm going to go over this outside edge line just to clean up my messy coloring. Make sure it goes right there. Okay, and then before you're done, you can take a look at it. And is there any part that you think needs to be a little bit darker, or where you can't tell exactly what's happening? I'm going to take this crayon and maybe make this line a little bit darker right here, so you can for sure tell that that's separate from the body. I can do it with the black. And then I'm going to do it right here too. Just on the bottom. Just so we can for sure tell that this turtle is separate from the water. Okay, that's it. When you're done, you can take a pencil and sign your name. It'll look so much better if you sign it with a pencil instead of a crayon, because it's hard to do the detail in the crayon. And that is it. I hope you guys have so much fun, and happy birthday, Layla. Just kidding. I saw one more thing I wanted to do. I realized what was bothering me. We didn't show his wrinkles. So I'm going to take the olivey green and I'm going to make a few lines like this coming up his neck. So it's not something that you would notice when you first saw it, but then when you look at the details, you see it. And I think that's it. I'll just add a few lines like that. Okay, now for real. Happy birthday, Layla. I hope you guys had fun.